Welcome back, Queen, to Free and Fully Expressed podcast, the sacred space where remembrance meets embodiment and devotion becomes the way you live, not just what you believe. I'm your host, Jackie B, Shamanic soul guide, mama of three, and your permission slip to live life as a sacred ceremony. And today's conversation is one that is going to feel like an invocation, an offering, a mirror, a remembrance. Because I'm joined by the radiant Urania. She is a professional astrologer, intuitive guide, and a woman whose work beautifully weaves with the cosmic wisdom with grounded embodiment. Together, we are exploring what it really means to live a life of devotion and integration, how to anchor your spiritual awareness into your daily human experience, and how to meet change as a ceremony, and how to let tools like astrology be a map that guides you back to the rhythm of your own soul, but not a codependency or a definition of you. This conversation is rich, deep, and deliciously human. We talk about the sacred, ordinary moments that test your devotion, the power of integration as an ongoing practice, and what it means to stay present when your life, your purpose, your path are all evolving. So whether you're in the car, you're in the kitchen, or you're on your evening walk, let this conversation be permission to slow down, breathe, and remember, you are already living the ceremony. Let's dive in. I'm so excited and welcome, Urania. I want to start out by just having you share a little bit about you so then they get a feel of where you're coming from.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jackie. I feel like this has been kind of like a long time coming. We always have our discussions and I've done lives with you. And so I'm really excited to be here on the podcast. And I guess a little bit about me. So as far as my spiritual practice, my work, my life, it's all integrated into one. I center my life around spirituality, like mainly ritual or daily devotion, just in my everyday life. So everything I do is not necessarily like a ritual, but there's some sort of like deep intention and very sacred. And with this, I have integrated astrology, astronomy, dreams, energy healing, like pretty much everything spirituality. I've like touched it, if not very deeply, just even a little bit. And I take what resonates, I take what lights me up, and I integrate that into my daily life. And through that, I share and connect with clients just what works for me and my insights. I feel that it's really important to share our passion, and so that's what I do. And as long as I can remember, at least 20 years, if not longer, I have always wanted to bridge the gap between science and spirituality. My formal educational background is in astronomy and physics. And then as soon as I graduated college, I started like really deep diving into astrology and practicing it more from like a technical perspective and actually starting to do readings. And then I began to bridge what I learned in college with what I was learning in astronomy and like understanding the history of astrology and whatnot. And yeah, it just came together so beautifully. And so I have begin to do that with energy work and with dreams, and it's my life, my daily devotion, I feel. And yeah, so
I love that. And so it's like similar what I did. Like, so my background is in pre-med and then nursing. And the same thing is like there's so much more than just that piece. And that's what I did as I bridged the modern medicine with the energy aspects and the holistic, all five aspects of us together. And I think that strengthens, and we don't realize how much science is in the quote unquote woo. Like they are hand in hand. It's what I've learned is it's the language that we present it with. So if you are a very logical minded person, like my husband, very logical minded, if I come in and with all of this like airy, fluffy like language, he's going to be like, what the heck are you talking about? And it's not going to resonate. But if I can speak his language and saying the same thing, but in a more technical term, it lands different. And I think that that's what it is bridging and kind of seeing that they're always been this crossover. It's just are we looking at that angle? Like, are we looking at, and we had like I always say the pre-podcast before the podcast. We've been talking about that too, is like people look at it so like black and white, like there's only two options, and there's never that way. It's a whole spectrum of experience and unfolding. And when you're sharing like your background, like I adore you and you know that. I was like, seriously, she like has this embodied goddess, like queen energy always with you, because that's what you do. Like that's who you be. You literally take like, this is not just concepts, like this is your way of being. You're living your work every day. And I think that's what makes us passionate, because it's not just a side tangent. Like it is part of us, and it's literally sharing our heart, our wisdom, and our expression, and we've seen it firsthand in our own life unfold. So why wouldn't we want that for other people as well?
Exactly. It's literally integrated living.
Yes.
It's just, and that is living in wholeness. That is intentional living, lucid living, whatever you want to call it. It's, I seek to connect with the sacred in all things, right? And I am fortunate enough that I can like wake up and pull cards, or make a cup of coffee and set intentions with the coffee, light candles, light incense. And it's, yes, I'm getting up and I'm getting my daughter ready to for school and have to do those type of things, but then also just to have the moments where I can slow down and have this intention and this presence is so important. And when I do work with people, or just even share, my insights or what I've been learning, or different rituals and routines, that is kind of I guess my goal, or kind of like my hope, that people will start to just in small ways integrate this in their everyday life. Because as you and I were talking, it's like, yes, some things feel out of our control, but we do have control of some things. And I do feel when we slow down and we're more present, we are more in flow with our natural energy, with divine energies. And so, even if we're not, say, in control, there's like, it doesn't matter, because we've surrendered and we're in flow with the natural divine guidance, if that makes sense.
Yes, it kind of like is a negated conversation, because at the same point, like we wait and think that this is the super important, and then at the end of the day it's like, but we are in this flow, we're in universal flow, whatever you want to call it. And that self-devotion, and I love how you brought up, because so many people, this is a common thing, is like, oh yeah, so she doesn't have a regular job, so she can do these intentional things. But you literally just touched on it. Anyone that knows us, we are mamas. We have real life things that we have to navigate through. We've got bills, we've got other things to do, but we choose what's priority for us to make sure that we make time and space for it. And it doesn't mean that we have to sit here and meditate and journal for 5 hours. Guess what? Some days I would love to do that.
I would love to.
Like that's actually where I'd want to spend my energy. But also honoring, like, we've got a go life as well. And so yes, we get up, we get the kids to school, we do all these things, but we also create space and like the ritual. And this is another thing, like you said, like intentions in your coffee. I have a coffee ceremony like every day. I'm very intentional with, just like you, with everything I do. And it kind of like, I don't know if irk is the right word. It used to trigger me when people are like, you can't have coffee. Coffee is bad. You're going to kill yourself, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm sitting here going like, and there's times like my old people pleaser, my old good girl syndrome, all of that like comes in, my eldest daughter energy. And I was like, oh, start questioning my whole life, and my philosophy is like, maybe this isn't good for me. As you guys can't see me, I'm holding my coffee. Like, maybe this isn't good for me. Maybe I need to part ways with it. And then like, it's this relationship. And then I was like, why, once again, anything that makes me feel like disempowered and makes me feel deprived and makes me feel deflated, how can I associate that with aliveness and living and fullness and experience? So I'm like, maybe, and it took me, like, I followed the rabbit hole, like I followed the curiosity, that pull. I said, so maybe it's not so much the coffee is bad. Maybe it's the mindset that I put into it. And this brings me so much joy and connectedness. Like, I don't see, like, you know what I mean? Like I don't see and like how I program the water to work with me. And they used to do coffee ceremony. Like
Yep.
the coffee bean is just as like special and sacred, just like all life is sacred, right? And so it's like, but this is one of my allies. I don't create a codependency like other things. Like, you know what I mean? It's not about codependency, it's about I built a beautiful relationship over the years with the coffee energy. And how can I use that intentionally? And like people listening might be like, "Whoa, she's really like." No, but
It's
this is
so
how this is just a little snapshot of the things that go through my mind and the intention that I put in. And so I'm like, I literally felt like I was like trying to disown like a sacred part of my life in like a partnership that I had because somebody else told me it wasn't good. And then it was like down the spiral of going, oh, once again, Jackie, there's another example of you living through other people's expectations and other people living your life. I'm here to reclaim that power and reclaim the parts of me and say, no, I'm living on my terms. I get to be free and fully expressed. And if this brings me joy right now, then that's awesome. But if my body is screaming and going, no, I need a break from this, then that's not a healthy partnership anymore. And then maybe I need to step back and shift. But everything in me says that this is a compatible, good experience. So I'm going to learn to be my own sovereign being, my own expert of my own experience, and not let somebody else's generic statements influence my life. And I don't
yes.
know where that really came from, but like that, I really feel like that needed to be shared.
No, I completely resonate. I've had literally the same back and forth specifically about coffee because it is like a ritual. It always has been. And when I would always explain that, like explain myself when it came to this conversation about coffee, where I'm like, no, but it's like a ritual. And, I'll wax and wane with it. Like sometimes I switch it up and have tea, but it's like just the fact of having that warm beverage like in the morning with intention and like the nourishment and just like it's almost like it revitalizes me for the day. And so it's really important. And you touched on some really good points as far as just having like listening to your own voice, listening to your emotions, how you feel when you consume it, when you connect with it. Does it feel really good? Does it inspire you? Or is it something that feels heavy and it feels bad, so to speak? Like your body will speak to you, your body knows. So we do need to pay attention to that. And I've had a very important lesson with that as well, with coffee and other things. And this is why I really do, practice just this daily devotion and being, you know, feeling into the connection with all things, whether it's a crystal or it's coffee or it's being outside or it's my child or whatever. Like I do my best. I'm not perfect, so I don't get it right every time. But when I am aware and I'm present, I really honor that connection. And then you'll be able to catch yourself when, say, like for me, one of the things that I'm off and on with is cannabis. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's like, it's a very interesting relationship, and I see it as a teacher, like with
Yeah,
any kind of plant
absolutely.
medicine, it's a teacher. And
A beautiful
if I
ally,
continue,
and sometimes it's
right,
lifelong, sometimes it's for periods of your life, sometimes it's in and out, just like anything else.
exactly. And so I think that following that, like your own mindset, your own connection, and being willing to let it go for a while. Like sometimes, we have people in our life where we're tight, we're on, and then we kind of do our own thing. And it's not a bad thing. It's just like we're doing our own
Life just
thing
took
and
us
then you
different
come back.
directions for a little bit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so that's how I approach a lot of things in my life. I'm like, okay, we're vibing, we're flowing. Then I might, move on to something else. And generally I come back to it, but it's like once we have resistance with letting it go, then that's when we start to experience,
Yeah, that's where you're
different
like, is this
challenges.
actually like co-enmeshment, codependency?
Right.
Because could I live without my coffee? I could, but for me, I'm like, what type of life would that be?
I know. I
Like,
was like,
could I absolutely function without it? Yes. And I mean, and there's no shade, but I have like maybe one cup a day. Like that's part of my sacred ritual. Some
yes.
days I want more in that, but I just trust my body in that. But I was having a conversation with my husband who's not like in the spirituality like I am, but he is in his own way. I always tell him that. He's like, I don't really understand a lot of the things like the wisdom that you carry, he's like all the 20 million PhDs you walk around with every day. But he can relate to a lot of the concepts, and that's what he loves. Like, I'm able to break things down. And we were talking about, like, he's not a coffee drinker. He's never really been a coffee drinker, tea drinker. But his substitute to that, where he calls his coffee, is a Coca-Cola. So yes, on the outside, you could say, oh my gosh, Coca-Colas are horrible for you. But the same thing. And if you think about it and you break it down, so yes, there's some chemical component to it, but it's water at the base, which we all know, like, water is programmable. It is a part of our whole ecosystem, right? And it's the intention. So if I'm sitting here and this is another example. I've gone through the relationship with my body and food and things have been a tug of war for most of my life. And I used to eat super clean, like super, like, I can't even like have a word, like very rigid boundaries on it. And even though I was eating all the quote unquote right things, I wasn't having the health benefits that you would think. But as I step back and I look at that now, is because I was so rigid, I wasn't actually truly enjoying it, and the energy was depriving myself of, like,
Right.
shaming myself. And so that is actually what I was ingesting energetically every time I ate. And
Yeah.
that has more potency, I think, than necessarily the food
Oh, yeah.
itself, because what you're intaking is the energy essence of everything anyways. That's what you're processing. So I'm very intentional, and that's what I try to teach my kids now. Be very intentional with everything you put in your mouth and everything you digest and absorb in the world, because that is a part of you. Whatever you surround yourself becomes a part of you, if you don't hold the boundaries and are bringing it to your awareness. And I think that's why I'm self-aware, is because I allow myself to be present and listen to all different aspects, I cannot talk, aspects of myself. So if you're sitting here, snapshot into my daily life, like if you sit in here, I will be talking to my body randomly throughout the day. They're like, are you talking to me? No, I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to my body. I'm talking to the different aspects of my mind. And it's not just one voice. Like, it's like a soap opera drama in there sometimes, where I'm literally, I'll have to coax my inner child, like when she gets triggered and she's like crying and she's like, I don't feel safe. I have to remember, she's like, you're safe. You're with me. Another side tangent that people don't understand or don't really know about me is, most of my life I struggled with high functioning anxiety. And so I was just having a conversation with somebody about this, because they were experiencing anxiety attacks for the first time. And I could share some of my perspectives, because literally for as long as I can remember, I've been navigating that. And that's a whole nother side tangent. I realized that I've been navigating other people's emotions literally from the womb space. And so, but it's just natural. Like, these are some things I just naturally do, because I just is part of who I be. And I was saying how I talk to myself in simple things that, oh yeah, I've heard that tool, is what she said. I heard that tool, but the way you made it, broke it down, and you explained why it works, like, makes sense. At first I was like, why would I do that? That's stupid. But I was teaching her the how to get back in your body using the 5 sentences. So, like, the 5 things you see, the 4 things you feel, like, using the sentence, whatever order, it doesn't really matter, as long as you're using the 5 sentences in that. And she's like, I've heard people do that, but I'm like, and it's not just going through the motions, it's being present, feeling it in your body, because that's what's going to bring you back to your body and create more safety, because you're slowing yourself down and you're bringing yourself back into that rest energy and creating safety within you. And so, like, I think that's the important part of having the presence and the awareness, that I'm always having these conversations, and I'm always like, anxiety comes to play, and she speaks to me all the time. She's going to be a part of me. It's kind of like if you've seen Inside Out too. Like, anxiety's not bad.
Yeah.
She loves me so much. She's protecting me always. But I have to remind her, like, honey, we're safe. It's okay. Yes, I know this feels scary, and there's a lot of unknown in the world. And that's okay. And I thank you so much for loving with me. And how about you sit here and hold my hand as we navigate this together? Like, that's how I literally reparent and love myself. And that's the self-devotion I go through. And that's just the mind. And then, like, the emotions come in play, and then the body, and then my energy itself, and then my soul level. So that's the 5 pieces that I always am connecting and doing self checks in So then I can see where I'm at. Because if I don't know where I'm at, I don't know where I begin and somebody else begins. Like I've always been highly empathetic. And
Mm-hmm.
like, so I feel energy intensely. And when I was younger, I would get this enmeshment because I didn't know if it was my energy or somebody else, but I take it all on as mine. So somebody else is angry in the house. I all of a sudden would get angry and I would be like, why am I so angry? And I'd be like sobbing because I was literally being the alchemy like transmuter that's just naturally what I would do. It's not that somebody was pouring it necessarily on me. I would literally be just like taking it and siphoning it in to alchemize it. So then also in that, it's not just because I was giving to other people. For me, it created safety because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
learn how to be safe in just my little vessel. I had to transmute everything around me. So then I had this little bubble of safety.
Yeah, no, I 100% relate. And that is something that I've been recently, I don't know, like it's like I knew it, but you know how when you know stuff, but then you like know it in your body, like it's just like this full knowingness. And that actually came forth like even maybe just like 2 weeks ago. I was having like really high anxiety. So that's something I have that's been an ongoing thing for me since I was young. And primarily it was like in the heart area and also like yeah the breast area. And like it's no coincidence that both my grandfather and my father are both having really challenging heart conditions, to the point where it's like with both of them I'm kind of like, it's the transition is happening soon. And I was having a conversation with my mom, and she kind of brought it up like a few times, like in different conversations. And around that time is when I was feeling that sensation in my body. And the same thing as far as my breasts, I started thinking about my grandmother who had breast cancer. And this is like my grandfather, it was her husband. And so anyways, it's like I realized that just unconsciously I take that energy on, and it was showing up in my body, and it was also showing up in like my emotions. Like I was just crying
Mhm.
like for seemingly no reason. Like I would just be shedding tears throughout the day. And then I realized, just even thinking about like my dad and my grandfather, they both struggle with expressing their emotions as a masculine energy, especially like the older generations can have challenges doing, and just everything that was going on with the heart and stuff. And I was like, wow, like, no, I actually have like fully taken on this energy and processing it. And it freaked me out. Like in the process of like, once I realized that, I wasn't afraid, but like before that, for a couple
Oh yeah.
weeks, that was the high anxiety. It was freaking me out. Like I didn't understand what was going on. Like, and so, anyways, long story short, I completely resonate with that. And now, I've been talking to my body more so. And now I realize, like, when I take that on and then I like comfort myself. And, recently I've been speaking just like some scripts that I've created for like the nighttime and the morning, or when I feel that I'm like taking on that energy, specifically with my dad and my grandfather. Like I kind of just like move the energy out of my body and help them like from a distance process that, like basically, separate myself from it. But it's really crazy, honestly, how that happens. And again, just coming back to presence, like so many of us had this going on, and you and I are very
Mhm.
present, like we're in the flow, and it still hits us. Like
Oh
sometimes
yeah.
we still are just like, whoa. So that's why it's really important to be present, because then eventually you'll catch these things, and then you can use whatever tools you have to, mitigate that and, help to release that energy and so forth. So it's
And
really
there's not
important.
just one right way to do it. It's like just trusting yourself and playing and figuring out what it is, but it is the awareness. And I think this is an important conversation because people can look and be like, I can't wait to be in ease and peace. Like it's like some state that you stay in 24/7. Like newsflash, we're human beings. We came here to experience the whole spectrum of life. And like even if you have quote unquote mastery, if you want to call it that, of different things, like you're still going to be having these experiences. It's choosing how you want to navigate with it. It's going, okay, so I am aware I see this instead of just like floating by an autopilot. Like I see this is coming up. Like, and also I think part of it for me is like the radical responsibility always. So when I let things in, and naturally that's just what I've been conditioned to do is I bring in those energies. I stop and I go, okay, like I find my edges and kind of unmesh with love. And it's like, because also I've learned, because I used to be like, okay, no, this is what I am. I'm just gonna do it so then it's easier for them. That's actually not doing them a service either.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't realize that until I got older. That me feeling all the feelings and going through the process and just doing the energy, moving the energy. This is why I kind of stepped away from just energy work, and there's so many more, because just shifting the energy doesn't mean that you're going to not recall it in, and you know what I mean? If you aren't doing your part to be, I can help ease it down, but you have to go to the root of what's actually going on. So a lot of the times I have that own awareness of, okay, I have this inner talk of like, okay, so I feel this is not mine. Like in there, but what aspects are mine? What is it poking against that is mine, that is coming up to the surface? And that's why it attached so deeply, because it's not necessarily like, okay, this is theirs and I can let that go with love and like put all the protections around it and the tools and the energy, like for them to navigate through and anchor them into the earth is kind of like what I do, and like connect divine earth, like all the supports and love, but like that is not my not burden, but you know what I mean? Like that's not my role. I had to remember, like, it's not my role to fix the world. I'm not here to save the world. I am here to experience it, and I'm here to take care of me, which then ripples out as the example for everybody else. And so it's not only that, is then like, okay, so once I have that little bit of distance, I go, okay, so what's here for me? And then I kind of go down that space. And it's not that I'm wrong. It's not that there's anything bad. Like, it's not that I need to be fixed. It's going, there's some part that felt safe enough, that was loving enough, that says maybe she can move this energy that we've been holding on to, whether it's in my lineage that's coming through, whatever it is, it's, or my personal experience or past life experience, but it's in my DNA, it's in there. So I get to go, okay, so where can I bring this unconditional love to this and deeper understanding, and be able to alchemize it for myself, so then it's not as big of a magnet, if that makes sense, in there. And so I'm always constantly aware of that space. But I also learned, and I think this is big in the healing space, I have a lot of Gemini in my chart. I can intellectualize things very easily. And for me, like even the Scorpio part, like we step back, like when we get triggered, we step back, and it's like a quiet step back. We're observing, we're breaking everything down, analyzing. That's part of the Scorpio energy as well. But it's easy to just intellectualize and be like, oh, I have an understanding, and not move it from the body. Because you can't just process through the mind and expect the energy to alchemize and move. It's a whole process. The energy is stored in our body. So what happens, how I see it is, what happens is we experience a traumatic event, whether it's big trauma, little trauma, whatever, like it doesn't matter. If it feels traumatic to me, that it's like I'm storing it. And my body tries to process in the moment, but if I don't feel safe enough, or I don't have the space or whatever, and I tell myself and I try to shut it down, like we were taught to numb and not express our emotions, right? We put it down and it stores somewhere in our body. That's why when we get those triggers, there's normally a certain pain in a different part of the body, because your body is speaking to you. That's where you've been storing that energy. And so sometimes, and this is kind of back to the anxiety situation. She's like, but when I think anxiety, I thought it was just your mind spiraling. She's like, I didn't know your body can like just all of a sudden start like, and I said, no, that's once again, that's a misconception. Like your body is going into that and bringing that energy back out, because it literally is almost like the cup is overflowing. So it's going to happen in certain spaces, because it's like, I need to create space. You need to feel this. You need to move this energy. I have no control over it type thing in that process. And so it's really not going in to fix yourself. Like, healing is a never-ending process, right? But how I look at healing is not that you're broken. It's not that you need to be fixed. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's coming back to wholeness and going, where have I put parts of me in boxes because I didn't accept them, or I didn't think I was worthy of them. And how can I bring all those parts back to me and call them home, because all of me belongs with me. And that's the journey that I'm on every single day, is reclaiming and noticing those little things of, oh, I didn't even realize that that is still a pattern, and there's still parts of me that I get to reclaim. And it's really exciting and a beautiful thing. Every day I become more and more me, and deeper into my own roots, my own home.
Yeah. And I like that you mentioned, just like really like separating that that's not yours to carry. And that was like literally last night. This conversation is so freaking timely. Last night, I was talking to my mom, and I'm pretty sure she has the flu, like she's really sick. And I get really worried because she's single, she lives alone. She's in her early 60s, and like even before, like 10 years ago, I worry because she's alone, and I'm like, what if something happens? And then I like take that on, and I feel that energy, and I'll feel even sick for her, like I'm trying to help her process and get over it. And yesterday I literally was like, we were having a conversation, and she was very stuck in, I just like got to get to the doctor. She has a doctor's appointment on Tuesday that she had already had scheduled, and she was like, they can't see me sooner, I might go to urgent care. My mom is someone who like heavily will pump herself with medicine. Like, would you have a medicine for that? Give it to me. Like, it's like she'll listen to me when I give her remedies, but her default is, medication. And so I could feel her spiraling because she couldn't go to the doctor, and she was like feeling like she might need to go to urgent care over the weekend. And so I was like really worried. And then when I told myself, I was like, one, the human body is really strong. Like my mother's strong. She probably just has the flu or like a really intense cold. She'll be okay. And then I also told myself, I'm like, you have to let people learn for themselves. You have to let them like process it and heal. Like the body is strong, and like whatever her path is her path. Like, like you spiraling and worrying is not going to make it any better. And then I was able to like emotionally detach, and I guess energetically detach in a way, and that brought me some peace. And in that process of detaching, or after, like I was like, okay, like because I felt guilty too. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was literally like letting go and pushing that energy, like separating myself from it. And then after that I was like, oh, I can help my mom. I can just share with her, because I didn't want to get preachy. I'm like, mom, well, you shouldn't have been doing this and that and
Yeah.
whatever. And so I was like, no, let me just share with her like some teas that can help to, dry up the mucus, because she was
Yep.
coughing up a lot, help her with her nausea. So I suggested some teas. There's also this like this herbal like throat spray that I use. And so I was like, mom, order this on Amazon or something, get this tea, and make sure you're drinking a lot of water, maybe lemon water with some honey, so you make sure you get the electrolytes and the vitamin C and all of that. um and that made me feel so helpful. Like it's like I helped in a way that wasn't like taking away.
Empowering. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, I'm getting actually goosebumps right now, like all over my body. This is crazy. But yeah, no, it was so great for me because it's like I don't have to take that on. Like I can help in a different way. Um, and I just felt more at peace because I was definitely beginning to emotionally spiral, and I'm just like so worried. I'm like, what if, like she can't fix herself stuff, she has no energy, and she's in Maryland. So it's not like I'm in New York, she's in Maryland. So it's like I
It's not like
could
she's down
drive
the
there, but
road.
it's not. My brother lives like 45 minutes away, so he can go. But then it was the whole thing. I'm like, my brother's not really like nurturing like that. He doesn't get it. It's going to be a thing, So it was a whole spiral. But I was like, you know what? And that's what I've been telling myself too. I'm like, people make the choices they make. And this is how, their path is unfolding, even with my father, like even with my grandfather. I don't have to take that on. Like I can help them in a different way.
Their
So
story, not yours. And
exactly.
you hold the pen. As much as sometimes we would do it differently, we have to remember it's not my job to control their story.
Yeah. Because it doesn't make us any different than, when you think about, either people in your life, or maybe when you see different communities, and they're trying to push
Mhm.
like something like their beliefs, right? Like I don't want to be that
My way
person.
is not
I
the
don't
only way.
Right. I don't want to be, our parents were really good at that when they're like, when you're in trouble or you're in some kind of challenge or distress, they're like, well, I told you not to do this, this, and that's not helpful in the moment.
No.
Like whatever, with whatever
And part of
wisdom
it
you
is you have the guilt of like you
hear
know
that.
that maybe I should have did something different because this is the outcome, but I didn't realize it until now. Like
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, well, help me with the wisdom you have. Don't scold me for not, like, how can this help? How can you be helpful? And so I listened to that last night and that worked wonders. And she's getting her tea, her throat stuff, and I'm like, Mom, you'll be good until Tuesday. You don't have to go to urgent
and
care.
really you created this
Just like,
buffer
yeah,
zone of where like she was gonna go get the medicine or whatever anyways, but you created this safety for her in the meantime, which was a gift to her, and then it helped you release and separate from that because you still
exactly.
felt like you were of service
Yeah.
of her, and that's the way that you, because what I feel as you say that is like if I don't take it on, like part of you is like if I don't take this on, then I'm not showing her love. So literally your whole being was like trying to mirror something else you could do to share your love in a
Yeah.
way that served you both. I love
Yeah.
that.
Woo. Yeah.
Ah, so beautiful. Like, and it's just this is why I love these conversations because like we had a whole like podcast before the podcast and it was not even anything to do with any of this. And I was like, we could literally talk for days and days and days and never get like old or repeat information. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how this conversation flows because yeah, this was definitely not what was, what we intended, but it's
Well,
all
I think it also brings into one of the topics that we were talking about is like using the tools and modalities that we have as just that. Like once again, there's not one golden, this is the only way, the only like in so rigidness is being able to use them and find them flow and like I don't even know where we want to start on this because like I said we had a whole conversation about it. It's like so we were talking about astrology earlier and first, let's start out with what's the difference between astrology and astronomy in your mind? I know you kind of talked about like the science of it, but
good.
where do you see the confusion a lot of the times that people have with that?
I mean, I feel that astronomy is definitely, you could say, more of the I don't know if I want to say masculine expression, or it's more of like the logical, let's say that.
Yeah.
It's more the logical observational aspect of like connect. So overall, I would say astronomy and astrology both, their goal is to understand the nature of the cosmos and how we are a part of that, how we connect with that. And so astronomy is a bit more detached, it's more logical, observational. And then astrology is more like subjective and more interpretive and uh just more, I'm not necessarily emotional, but there's more like a deeper connection.
There's like a
And
depth
it,
and many multitudes to it versus just the stars are here. This is
yeah.
like you know what I mean, just the mathematical pieces. There's a lot of mathematicals to astrology, but there's a lot of understanding and the different components that come through. And we were talking about the difference, like where we're talking about we're Scorpios, like but that we are different both we're similar in many ways but we're different in different ways as well because the astrology placements and things like that and we are also talking about the interpretation and how I read astrology is going to be different from you different than another astrology reader and it doesn't mean that one's right or wrong and we were talking about how they all kind of lead back to those key important moments and energies and messages no matter where you're going so it's not like you're going to pick the wrong person. Like there's some people that may misread in those spaces, but that's when you use your discernment and you'll be guided and you'll get like that pushback and resistance, at least for my experience. If somebody tries to tell me, for one, I don't like anyone to tell me who I am and what I do and like put me in a box. Like that's part of my own, like I don't want to put myself in the box, let alone anyone else put me in the box. Um, but I think that's where like I think with any modality, people when they first are learning, they're trying to do the mechanics and trying to do everything right and they fit into these edges and all these clean lines. But how I see it is there's so much like to be interpreted and like expressed. So even like it's not in a disempowering way. Don't ever use the tool to disempower you. Use it to empower you and find the harmony. Like what comes to you as I'm saying that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a tool, and I do see astronomy is very, very important to astrology. It's I do, my personal opinion is that, you know, if you're gonna be an astrologer, that's like your practice. I do think it's important to study like some aspects of astronomy, not necessarily like going super deep with it, but just to understand you know,
Foundation.
just the foundation and the connection and what's actually happening, and understanding, you know, your intention, your why, and how you want to you know, look and interpret and connect with the chart. And like we were saying before in the pre-podcast that, you know, there's so many different, you know, systems, so many different perspectives on how to interpret someone's astrology, or just like the collective astrology. And whatever works, whatever resonates with you, use it. There's no one right way. I think what's really important is understanding what it is you're using, and understanding possibly why or your intention with it. And so, you know, astrology is really, really important. It's not necessarily, or not important, well, it is important, but I meant to say it's really popular.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for, yeah, us to like know why we're using it and why we're connected with it. And then like even when it comes to the house system, or when it comes to like, say if you're doing Western versus Vedic, well, why, you know, like really connect to
What's your
your
intention
personal
under it
why,
all?
because that's going to influence your, you know, your reading, your interpretation, right? And so if you're doing that because like you feel a way because everyone's like, oh well, this is the way things are really aligned and this is the true way, you know, don't do it because, you know, people have strong beliefs about it. Do it because it feels right for you, or you feel connected with it, it resonates, it's helpful for you. I think that's an important place to start.
I
There
think
was
this is a
something
big
else, yeah.
conversation in general because what came through as you said that like was really loud and clear. And this could be many different forms of life. We all can have our own way of expressing and celebrating and connecting and learning and growing and the lessons, but there's truth in all of it, our
Mhm.
own truth in all of it. There's an undercurrent that is serving us if we so choose to look at that. There's not one that's quote unquote better or right or whatever. Like we get it away from the separation and remember that we are in one, in unity. And when we can stop like fighting and we come back into like trust and allowance and love and to be able to go, okay, well, this is what's calling to me right now. I don't need to know all the ins and outs. I don't need this to be the expert of me, but I can play with it and see how that feels and expresses within me. I think that's also like another thing that was coming through as you were sharing was like you studied astronomy, like I studied medicine, like with my pre-med and nursing. That deepens our practice. And I think that's why it's important
Oh
because
yeah.
as at like even when I'm doing an energy session, like they call me like almost like an energetic surgeon because I know the layout of the body and how the body functions because of my studies. I know the bits and pieces. I've got more knowledge base of that where I can go in fine tune because I have that visual picture of somebody that didn't go through the med school and all of that. You know what I mean? Like, so you may have a general concept, but I've studied the ins and outs of those things where I can go in to the different systems in that. And I think that that's also some of the foundation of giving you some of the more experience part of not just a concept, but takes it even deeper and the connection of the worlds. And maybe that's just because I'm a bridge and I like
Yeah.
bringing like two sides of things and back into to harmony always.
Yeah. And I think that and that again is just like, it's so important to know, like you don't have to know on a logical level, like writing it out like this is why I'm doing this, but just having that connection and that passion for it. Because once you are connected to that passion, like it just expands and expands and expands. Because, you know, like with medicine, then you go into energy work, and then even with astrology, there's a whole
Oh
subdivision or
yeah.
system of astrology that's focused on the body and medicine. And so that branches out, and then you can branch out into other, you know, different tools that just keep expanding that passion and connection to medicine and the body and that type of healing. And so next thing you know, you're working with crystals, you're working with plants, you're out in nature, and just like it's all integrated, it's all connected. And yeah, so again, there's really no one right way. It's just like I listen to Bashar all the time, and he's always like, okay, what's your permission slip? Like, we don't even need technically all of this. Like, it's all within
You don't
us.
have to
Like,
learn
you
it
have
all.
to
It's
know it.
whatever. Yeah.
Right. But it's like what speaks to you that is going to help you to refine and to also expand, your passion and how you share that with others and how you help people, help people help themselves. Cause like we're not even the ones doing the
Yep.
healing. We're not doing the
Facilitate
activation. We're just like
a
facilitating.
process, but you're the one. I always say that. Like, I changed my name from holistic healer back in the day to shamanic soul guide because I really am facilitating and guiding you through processes to awaken and step into your own power, your own medicine. I'm not doing it for you. I am just a component of the process, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And we're like connecting them to like their inner wisdom and their soul and just creating the space, the environment, and the support to help, whoever it is to, get what it is that they need, like what
And the
they want, that
safety.
support.
I think
Yeah.
that's at least for me, like that's huge. And I have that mirrored to me all the time is Jackie, I share things with you that I haven't even said out loud. Like
Yeah.
because you make me feel safe and you're not going to judge me. And I know that you will hold me. And even part of me is like, oh my gosh, I'm burdening her with this. And but yet, even if I like you feel that before it even comes out of my mouth and you reassure me and mirror to me that this is what fuels you, this is why you do what you do in the space, like like I have this mother nurturing energy, but at the same time I have this rebellious, fiery, like alchemist energy, like and it's like this perfect like trifecta like potion of me that you can't get anywhere else. And I'm not everybody's like cup of tea. Like I'm not, and that's okay. And I'm deep. Like even my shallow conversations, if you want to call them that, like surface level conversations, they're like, whoa, like you just blew my mind in like 5 seconds, and we're just talking about like generic things. But that's
Yeah.
just how I operate. And I might rub people like for me, I had to learn this as a recovering people pleaser. Not everybody's gonna like me. But this is why this is like my saying, like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's damn best flavor. And
Yeah.
and that's what I live for. And knowing that I get to be me and just trusting like the right people are gonna come to me and I can be of service to them in that. And my job is not to make everybody happy. Like I have to literally love on myself, that little girl, and I have to be Jackie, like, I love you so much, little one. Like, but your job is not to make everybody happy. It's not to please everybody because that's an impossible task. Your job is to be you and lead and operate from that heart space and having pure intention and love in everything I do because that's who I am. Like if you spend 5 minutes with me, you know how big my heart is. Like I genuinely love people. Even if they hate me, like I love them and I want the best for them. Doesn't mean I'm not triggered by things, don't get me wrong. But in the core is like I want people to wake up to their truth. I want them to be able to live a life fully and express in the ways and like I think that that's the difference and gives me the perspective of when somebody is quote unquote trying to hurt me or acting from those spaces. I see I see everybody's potential no matter what. Even if they don't want to live up to it, I see that and I also that's another learning curve that I had to realize that not everybody desires to live up to their potential and it's not my job to make them go there. Um,
Mhm.
and two is I can see the wounded aspects. Like I can see them come to play. Like literally people's faces will change and their demeanor will change. Like energetically, I can see it. And it's like almost I see this like hurt child in front of me.
Yeah.
And like how do you be angry at this? Like you know what I mean? And it's like my heart just breaks sometimes because I'm like I want to be able to help and support in that space, but I'm not everybody's mentor. Like I am sometimes I had to accept the fact that I'm the villain in somebody's story, even though that breaks my heart. Like I love them enough to be the villain in their story, and hopefully that in that, just like you said with your mom, in realizing I didn't have to take it on, that you could give her
Yeah.
little tools or whatever. Like I had to learn that, okay, maybe that's the love I'm giving, is to be the opposite side of the spectrum. So then they can make choices and whatever. Even if their experience of me does not define me. I define me. And I had to remember that. And like as long as I'm in pure heart, pure mind, in the best intentions, even if it doesn't land, like obviously the people I love, I work in communicating and coming to a common ground, right? But it's not my job to like do that with every single person because that's impossible. Like for example, in my relationship, like one thing that makes us so strong is we've learned over the years to communicate and share our experiences, because a lot of the times the things that he does will trigger me, but it actually has nothing to do with him. And so we talk about like, because of my past and the certain traumas and things that I experienced and the way I framed the world back then will come surfacing. And same thing is like, I'll say something and he'll read into it and think that I'm mad at him or whatever. And I'm like, or like lately it's been like, why are you looking at me like that? What did I do? And I was like, guilty conscious? Like I just looked at you and smiled. Like and but
Right.
that's
It's that Scorpio penetrating. You're
like
like,
that's what he
what?
says. He's like, it looks
What
like
can
you're
I do?
looking straight through me.
Oh,
But I
yeah,
think that
that's
that's what it
hard.
is. And like just
Yeah.
I think the biggest medicine like in our relationship is to be honest and be able to express from a grounded space, not from a heightened emotion space. Like we've learned to give ourselves like space to regulate and come down to a grounded space, but then we come back and we talk about it and share like this is what was going on in my body. And I've shared this, if anyone's listened to the podcast, I've shared about this or on my lives or whatever. Like, for example, I came from an abusive relationships in the past. So, like, when he is frustrated and blowing off steam and he's like moving pots and pans around, like, and they're banging, I
Mhm.
know he's not like my mind knows he will never lay a hand on me. He's not going to hurt me. My body goes right back to being choke slammed against the wall and thrown into a coffee table and it breaking. Like, you know what I mean? Like my body goes back into those moments. And I then like shut down and panic and like I literally go through that thing. He doesn't want to hurt me like that. And so it really frustrates him because he sees me hurting and he's like, I don't understand. You know I would never do that. But we've learned what that brings up for him is being misunderstood and hurting the people he loves, and he's like a toxic flame is like how he sees it. And it's like no, it has nothing to do with that. Like that's the story you're telling yourself. Like I know that, but for me I have to find my own safety in the noise again. Like I have to trust myself and navigate and feel those feels to move through it. But just so you're aware, when I do that and I pull away, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And like we have those conversations, so then I'm not telling myself one story. He's telling himself another story. And you know what I mean? Then we're going down this spiral rabbit hole of not even our truths. It's just a big hot mess going on because none of that is actually how we truly feel, but we're not communicating it. And I think that's what puts a lot of struggle in relationship when we can't just be honest and be like, or even if okay, what just happened that hurt me. Not that they not saying you hurt me on purpose. Like this situation brought this up and it brought this hurt to me and this is why. And then them sharing that part, well, I was frustrated, whatever. But to be able to have that conversation without saying it's your fault, my fault, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about we love each other and we have this mutual love and we can anchor into that to find out a common core for both of us so we can work through it together and not create more wedge and dissonance.
Mm. Yeah, and it what it brings to mind for me is just the entire experience of not being able to be ourselves. Like it's hard enough to even know ourselves,
Mhm.
but then as we get to know ourselves, then how can we like it's like feeling comfortable within yourself, right? Because of you have the factors of people pleasing or being misunderstood. And so yeah, I think that's like really important when it comes to relationships, like that communication and just like I have to do that with my daughter's father. Like it's not this isn't about you, or like, like he's very, very like sensitive and like empathic and whatnot. And so his default is like, if I'm in a mood, like I felt for so long I couldn't be in like a sad mood around him because he takes it personal. Like it's not about you.
Well,
It's
and they
very
try to
clearly about
fix.
you. Yeah, or try to fix it,
I don't need you to
you know.
be, I don't need you to fix the problem, honey. I'm not
Yeah,
a
and it's just
problem.
like, let me like move through it, especially, and that's really hard for me because of course I feel, with pretty much everyone, our relationships, especially the people closest to us, are going to reflect, to
Mhm.
us, like, or draw out like that trauma or
Absolutely.
anything repressed.
Deepest healing
Because,
teacher.
and with, yeah, and with the emotions, like it's really hard for me to show my emotions. Not now, I'm getting a lot better at it, but when I was younger, my mom would give me time limits on how long I can be, like, generally it was when I'm sad or
Mhm.
upset. She'd be like, okay, you have this amount of time to have your pity party, like literally her words. So then there's already like this shame and just like,
That negative
and
connotation.
then you need to be over it. And it's like, well, it doesn't really work like that. And it's not until, a few years ago where I'm like, it dawned on me. I'm like, okay, that there's the source of that, and like so many children have that experience of like, oh, no, don't cry, or, like let them get it out.
Absolutely.
Like your husband, like he's got to get out. That's his way of getting out the frustration. I mean, yes, there are many ways that you can do that, but it's like I can see how it's hard for you to be yourself by expressing like, oh, this, I'm still feeling this even though it's been years. And it's like, then there's that whole guilt and stuff about that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, I have to, like, I'm frustrated or whatever, and I'm expressing myself. So it becomes this like thing of like, we have to
Yeah.
be
Well, and
able
then
to
he's like,
be
you're telling
ourselves.
me that I can't express myself in this way. Like, not that he's
Yeah.
directly said that, but he's like, I
Yeah.
feels like he has to chameleon. And I
Yeah.
said, no, I don't want you to stop being you. I just want you to realize where I'm coming from. And I think that's the
Yeah.
difference is I'm
Yeah.
not trying to control him. He's not trying to control me. We're not trying to make it better in that way and make it this dissolve. It's allowing ourselves to be real raw in the messy process. And we
Yeah.
can both come from that way because then he gets like, I
Exactly.
can't, I don't mean to, I'm doing wrong. Like it's like the little boy being scolded comes out like
Yeah.
just like my mom, I'm doing what you're telling me to do, and then now you're mad at me for doing it. And
Yeah.
like even with him, like there's a lot of times he'll go and he'll process by himself.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I was brought up, like you don't go to bed angry or whatever, we talk this out, like I love you, like we don't. But so I would go to him and be like, no, we need to work this out. I don't want to be mad. I don't want to have this in between us. But then I wasn't giving him space. But the story I told myself when he was doing that was, he doesn't love me. See, he doesn't even care. He doesn't want to put in the effort. But the
Yeah.
truth was, he actually loved me so much, he didn't want to project on me. He wanted to move the energy. And as much as it was uncomfortable to deal with the emotions, he's stretched and evolved and allowed myself because he knows that's what I need. So he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
sweep it under because his family didn't do emotions. He always says that to this day. He's like, my kids are getting to the stage where they're like, not that they don't need me. They love mommy, but they're getting to the stage where they look towards their dad because I have three boys, right? And they're all getting to look for dad's influence and they're going to turn to dad for certain things. Yes, when it comes to being sick and nurturing and love that, but I said you're going to have to be able to have emotional conversations with them because they don't know and they're navigating. And guess what? This is a beautiful opportunity for you both to grow in that process. And so it's cute because he's like, how do I even deal with this? Like what? And
Right. I don't do much.
but I tell him and I mirror back to him all the time is like you do emotions. You
Mm-hmm.
just don't realize you're doing it. You're not giving it words. Because he used to say, you just bottle that all in and you just don't deal with it. I said, but that's not what you do. You say
Yeah.
that, those are
I've
the
heard
words
that
that you
before too.
say,
Yeah.
but you go and you find an outlet to move that energy.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be crying. Yeah. As long as you're getting it out. And I think
Moving your
that's a big
body
thing.
in whatever way and like
Yeah.
what doing whatever is like you're exerting and you're moving that energy out of the body. That's the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely made a point to, I allow my daughter to see me. Like sometimes I want to have my like
Yep.
really intense cries alone. Like there's a feeling about that where I'm just like, it's
Yeah.
messy. But at times, like I have made sure, not made sure, but I didn't hide myself. Like
Yep.
when my daughter, like it say if it's both of us here and I'm like crying about something, I'll cry in front of her and we'll like talk about it because she'll ask me like if I'm sad or why I'm sad and whatnot. And I think that's really important because when I was growing up, like my family didn't do emotions either. And I don't ever remember seeing my mom cry. Like I have one memory and I can't even like I feel like I can see her face, but I don't remember why. And it wasn't anything. I just saw tears. Like even when my grandmother died, I don't remember ever seeing her like super sad. She's always been like, "Oh, we got this." Like
All
she
together.
all has it together. And that's great, but also I need to see you
The
in
realness.
other emotions, right? And so like I was listening to, I can't remember what I was listening to, but it was a mom just saying like, I never cry in front of my kids. Like I want them, like she tries to always be positive. And I'm like, I see your intention, but like you gotta express, just be yourself. Like if
It
you're
gives them
sad, you're sad.
permission in that too. I'm not
Right.
saying like emotionally dump on them. Like I'm not saying
Exactly.
that, but my kids see me cry, and as a child, what normally happens is they try to comfort you.
Yeah,
I
they
see that
do.
a lot with my little one. If he
Mhm.
sees me worked up, like he'll come and he'll love on me, and I reiterate, thank you. I receive your love, but I also want you to know that it's okay that mommy's sad right now, and it's not your job to make me feel better. I love
Right.
that you love me and you're here and you're in a support, but this is not your role. Mommy will be fine. She will work through it. This is what
Yeah.
we do, and this is just a temporary phase of what I'm processing, and that's beautiful. And I'm trying to give them that. And I realize a lot of the things I do in my parenting is because of the way I grew up. Not that I grew up bad, but you know what I mean? Like not being able to express the emotions. Like I make sure that that's in there. Even when it comes to, I realized the other day because I was helping my youngest is 8, so I have an 8, 10, and 17-year-old, and I still like I automatically do things for them, even though like I know that they can do it. Or like you know what I mean, like that independent, like you're supposed to be
Yeah.
teaching them independence, like you know what I mean, that narrative. But I realized why I do it. The other day it hit me. I do it because I had to be independent. Like that was something that was, you're a big girl now, you have
Oh
to do
yeah.
it on your own. So I made my sandwiches. I did that and I was like, but why does it hurt for me to show them love?
Yeah.
And like that's not going to be detrimental to them. Like I'm gonna give, I don't shelter them and they like don't have any skills whatsoever, but they don't have to make their sandwich every day to know how to make a sandwich.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like I was having that same thought process. My daughter's 5, and like I help her in the morning. I like get her dressed and stuff, like help her put on her pants and whatnot. And it's like she can do it, but I mean, honestly, I just do it because it's like, yeah, because she plays around. So I'm like, no, we need to like get dressed. So I help her to kind of like get the process going. But
So
she
you allow
knows
her
how to
to
get
play
dressed.
yet still
Yeah.
keep her on
Yeah, on
schedule.
task. So yeah, and I try not to feel bad about it because when we first started school, it was a whole big thing. They were like, "Oh, because they do." So she goes to Montessori, and they do the independent stuff, like taking off their jacket, their backpack, and like changing their shoes if they need to. And I never really knew like, oh, this amount of time she's supposed to be doing this by herself. So I would always help her, and it was like a whole big,
But she's
emphasis.
as
But yeah.
another reflection point, she's learning that already in school.
Exactly. Like she's
She's
doing it in
already
school.
getting
She's
exposure
doing
to
it. She
that.
knows how to wash her hands by herself, all of that stuff. Like, so yeah, I think it's just a natural flow. But it's funny, I literally had that thought the other day. I was like, why am I getting her dressed? But then I'm like, oh well, yeah, no.
But
I want to get her dressed right now. She can get dressed any other time, but
yeah,
we're getting ready for school. I ain't got time.
it hit me on a different level because my 17-year-old the other day was like, "Mom, can you make me lunch?" And I was like, "Yes. Yes, I will." You know what I mean? Like, thank you for asking me and allowing me to help in that space because it's really different because this is the last year he's really like home because he's going to be going to college next year. And it's like the kind of the other side of the spectrum of like he is so independent.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I like that's a blessing and honor to me. Like I want to
Yeah.
be able to have those loving moments and those caring moments while I still have them. And like I will always be the mom of like you can come over and I will have a home cooked meal waiting for
Oh
you.
yeah.
Like in that space, I want my children to know that my door is always open to them because it wasn't just a 18 years and then you're out type mentality. Like you are
Yeah.
forever me. You are a forever extension of me and I will
Exactly.
always be here to have your back. Not that I'm going to enable, not to whatever, but I'm not going to sit there and told you I told you so. I'm not going to do that. I will share like information in that space, but I don't need to lecture you because you already know because I created the foundation to start with.
Yeah.
So I
That's
know you, there's words without words in that, and I want you to feel safe. I parent differently because, and I love my parents. It's not that they did anything wrong, but fear and control is not the way I decide to parent. Like I'm breaking that cycle. I don't want my kids to mess up and make a mistake and go, oh my gosh, I don't want my mom to find out. She'll be so disappointed.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I don't want
Like
that
that
either.
crushes my soul
Yeah.
because disappointment is like one of my core wounds because of that
Yeah.
fact. Like you can be
Mm-hmm.
angry at me, but if you say you're disappointed, because that's what I heard all of my childhood. Jackie, we're not angry. We're just disappointed. You
Oof.
know
Yeah.
better. Like, and that, like, even saying that, I can feel it in my gut.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like, I tell my oldest this all the time, and I don't say no very often, but if I say no, it's because I have more of the puzzle pieces. Like, there's a reason. I don't just say no to say no. Like, it may seem to you in your child mind that I'm ruining your life, but promise me, I've always had, like, if you look back, and that's what I tell them, I'm like, look back at all of your experiences. I've always had your best interest at heart and at hand. Like, that's always been in the forefront. So if I'm saying a certain thing, it's for a reason. And you can ask the reason. You can ask my justification. And I'm always open. I say that I'm always open to debate. I'm not looking for an argument. Like, we're not going to argue. We're going to be respectful, but I will always be open to your opinion. I can't guarantee that the outcome is going to change, but I give them those skills because I think those are important skills later in
Yeah.
life.
I love you just like made me giggle in my head when you said, "Oh, I'm open for debate," because I have that was like one thing that my mom would always say. This is not a debate. Like, you know how that generation is. They're just
Yeah.
like, this is not a debate. Like you do what I say. It's. And there's like, don't even ask me why, just do it. Like there wasn't. So it's like my parenting is interesting to her, but also she doesn't like she treats my daughter like how I treat my daughter. Like she
Yeah.
follows what I do. And like, yeah, she's like wanting to be stern and you need to have more control, whatever. But when it comes
But she
down
at
to it,
least
when she's with
respects
my daughter, she doesn't do it either. Like, I don't know. It's like, you know how it is with
because
grandparents.
she's
Sometimes
grandma.
they're just
Like I got a
right,
fun
exactly. When
one
you're
now.
grandma. Because I'm looking at like how she is with my daughter, and like even I mean, she like loves up on her and just like I love you. And when I was younger, I did not like my mom didn't really. I don't remember my mom actually saying I love you until I was moving to Colorado, and I was 26 or 27.
Oh,
So there was never, I'm sure she said it, but there was never like a
no.
hug or any embrace like that. And it's like, I love you. I've never had that. And my dad wasn't like, he was in the picture off and on because he was out of state. Like, we lived in Maryland. My dad lived in Pennsylvania. And so I didn't see him very often. So I didn't have that kind of connection with him either. It was my grandmother who I got doted on and like loved in that way. And she transitioned when I was 19. And that rocked my whole world. And I was like, that was mom to me. She was a mother, and she raised me um when I was really young, pretty much almost till age 7. Like, my mom had me when she was 19. And so that was a whole thing. So that was my mom. And I got
That
all of
makes
that.
sense because that's literally your inner child years. Like that was your
Yeah.
main mother source.
Yeah. That
Just
was
because you
that was
give
mom.
birth doesn't mean that you're necessarily just that mother role. Like there's so many different
Right.
places. Like even in my husband's background, like he has like his close friends, like he calls them mom too because they were present. They were looking after him in like second mothers in those
Yeah.
forms.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is such a beautiful conversation.
I know I could
Um,
talk like I could do this every day.
I'm just thinking like I know you have to go pick up your little kiddo here soon. What do we want to end on this conversation? And I know that you're going to be back because like I said, this is a long time in the waiting. Like we could literally have our own like series
Yeah.
in
I definitely want to, not this conversation, but I definitely want to do another one with what we were initially going to talk about. Like,
yes. I think that
just,
that's a really potent one. So that's a
yeah.
little
So we're
spoiler
definitely having
teaser
another
that
conversation.
we're going to be recording that one and that one's coming here soon.
Yeah. But wow. I mean, I think just coming back to where the conversation originally began with the presence, the intention, the daily devotion. I think that's most important to me, in the sense of when you really have that lifestyle, or just do your best, because again, like, everyone's busy. Yes, I'm able to, do this more often because of my work and just the way my life is structured right now. But even if you are busy, like if you work a 9 to 5 or just have a lot going on, you can find, the 15 minutes to like sit outside, or, sit in your own energy, or even when you're making your coffee in the morning, as we were saying, like, being very intentional with that, and just speaking a blessing into your coffee. And that's enough for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? And so I think when you are present, then you, again, all of these other, just everything that we talked about, as far as our relationships, the feelings and energy within our body, how we interact with energy that we take on, how we parent, and all of that, like, all of that will come to light or inform you when it needs to, when you are in the present energy, when you're in the moment. You'll just have that aha moment, that realization, where you're like, oh, well, this thing, right? So I definitely want to encourage anyone listening, if you don't already do it, that is a very, like, powerful place to start when it comes to just being yourself and being connected to the divine energies.
Absolutely. And it doesn't, like, I really want to stress too on that note that it isn't a long process. It's stuff you're already doing. So whatever your morning drink, whether it's coffee, whether it's your water, tea, soda, whatever it is, let's make an intention with it, and literally just taking 2 seconds of what I want to feel today. Like what I want to call in, and literally just like, you don't even have to make it like the whole world knows, just for you. Like literally hold it in your hands, like, and just think it in your mind, and then intentionally drink it throughout the day. Like I'm just thinking back when I was working full time, a regular job, like those are the little things. I'd make sure like my shower time was like my sacred time for me, and like literally like there's a lot of times that I would be singing, I would be crying, like that it was my process time to really just be with my energy. And I literally, like, the water like held me, and like no other energy was really around, like that was the intention, and it was so beautiful. But you're going to take a shower anyways. So it's like using that, like using those things. So, because I know I hear it all the time, like, Jackie, I don't have any more space. There's only so many hours of the day. How do I add these in? It's not about adding in, it's utilizing and readjusting what you're already doing. Simple as,
Yeah. Yeah. Being
or maybe you
mindful.
can't do a daily walk, but you're walking to your work,
Yeah.
using that as your intentional of like getting my footing, I'm grounding in. You don't have to do a full grounding practice. That's your grounding practice for right now. And then when it feels aligned, then you evolve it into something different.
Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting too. After I dropped my daughter off at school, I went to the grocery store just to get some water, and I'm walking from the car to the grocery store, but I'm hearing like a bird. And I was like, no, that's not a crow. Like I love crows. I know how they sound, but it was like really loud, and it was a seagull, but I was like, it was making an interesting sound. Like it wasn't its usual. Like it didn't sound distressed, but I was just like, and I'm like, are you talking to me, or like, what are you saying? Like, what's going on? And that was literally within like 2 minutes of like walking to the car to the front of the grocery store. So, I mean, that presence, yeah, it can be with you in anything you do. And I love that you brought up showers, because especially as a parent, like when you have little ones, that shower time is golden. Like I do all my releasing, my clearing. If I need to have like energetic conversations, like that's my
100%.
jam.
Another thing that I really want to, like, the last thing, because like I said, I could go off, is another thing that I really did for intentional, especially when I was working, is when I walked out of that work door, the door closed, I left that energy there. I left work at work so I could be with me, and like that drive home was my transition so I could shift back into the energy. The tree, I cut the tree down. The tree in the front yard, this was other, I mean, you might heard it before, but it's kind of like you hang up your work clothes, you hang up whatever at the tree, and you can pick it up as you walk
Oh,
out the door. That
yeah.
tree was one of those things too. So if there was anything that was really heavy on my heart that I didn't want to infuse in my children and in what I was doing there, I would literally energetically hang it on the tree, and the tree would hold it for me while I was like literally Mother Earth holding it for me until I was ready to come back so it didn't infuse into what I was doing. And that sometimes would be literally in the middle of the day where like I would get some news, it would hit me heavy. Not that I was pushing it away. It was like, I acknowledge you, I see you. Body, we're gonna go through this. We're gonna break this down. I love you, and this is coming up for a reason. But I'm gonna take this energy, almost like a little ball of energy, and like an ornament on a Christmas tree. I would set it here, and so then I could focus on the task at hand because I am a mom. I have lots of different hats that I have to wear through the day, but then I always make sure that I'm intentional about coming back to it. And even if it's slowly like an apple, and I'm taking a bite at a time, like
Yeah.
it knows that there's a relationship there, that I care, that it's there, but I don't have to hold it alone.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wow. I'm gonna try that one.
But yes, oh, well, thank you so much for this conversation. And
Thank you for
everybody
having
tune
me.
in because we are going to be having a second one, which is very juicy because we really had all intentions of going down a different pathway that is serving as well. But I think this was a beautiful, much needed conversation as well. So,
Thank you for having me so much.
Queen, take a deep breath. What a powerful conversation we just had. I hope this exchange with Urania stirred something inside of you. A remembrance that devotion isn't about perfection, it's about presence. Because integration isn't something that just happens after healing, it is the healing. It's the moment you bring your spiritual truth into your daily choices, the moment you live your wisdom instead of waiting for the right time to apply it. If this episode resonated with your heart, share it with a sister who is learning to live her life as a ceremony too. And tag me and Urania on Instagram and tell us your biggest takeaway or how you're living in devotion in your own daily rhythm. And if you're ready to dive deeper into this work, to really embody your own medicine and weave the spiritual with the human experience, come join me inside of Reclaim Your Queen, because this is where devotion meets embodiment and your evolution becomes your art. Until next time, remember, you are the ceremony, you are the integration, you are the devotion in motion.